In the 6th grade, John decided to leave Alice. It wasn't due to infidelity, but because of Alice's vengeful nature. If John went out for a drink, Alice would drink for a whole week. If John sent a harmless text to a female colleague, Alice would go on a trip with a male colleague. Their daily arguments and Alice's constant lashing out left John feeling utterly humiliated. John tolerated this behavior, but what he couldn't endure was Alice's mistreatment of me.
Alice, maybe you and John should get a divorce. I promise I won't cause any trouble. I'll live with John.
Alice slapped me twice, calling me an ingrate. She refused to divorce, so I suggested John move out. 6 months later, realizing there was no chance of reconciliation, Alice reluctantly signed the papers, taking all the family savings with her. On the day she left, she cried and accused me of being ungrateful, predicting that I would face retribution one day.
You'll get what's coming to you, Lily. Mark my words.
At the time, I didn't understand what retribution meant. I only knew that life without constant arguments was wonderful. But within 6 months, my retribution arrived. John was in a car accident and died instantly. I was back in Alice's hands. This time, she beat and scolded me daily. Even in death, John couldn't save me. A year after John's death, Alice developed acute appendicitis. In the hospital, she met a man. By the time she was discharged, she had already started a relationship with him and moved into his house with her luggage. When we reached his doorstep, I refused to go in. Alice grabbed my hair and slapped me. If it weren't for her abdominal wound, she might have given me a concussion.
Who are you, and why are you hitting someone at our door?
A girl half a head taller than me ran out of the house, rushing to protect me.
Emily, don't be rude. This is your new mom. Say hello.
Michael, you managed to find yourself a wife while in the hospital. Impressive.
I'm your father. Hurry up and greet her.
Emily reluctantly called her mom and then looked at me. Alice grabbed my hand.
Emily, this is your sister Lily. She's 2 months younger than you.
Emily stopped protecting me and glared at me. Indeed, what a coincidence. We were in the same grade, in neighboring classes. She was the top student, and I was the second. The Sia family's house wasn't big. 80 square meters, 2 bedrooms. Emily and I shared one room, while Alice and her dad shared the other. On the first night, neither of us could sleep. I tried to make peace.
Emily, who would have thought we'd end up as sisters? You're so smart. No matter how hard I try, I can only be second.
Don't flatter me. Honestly, before every exam, I'm always worried you'll surpass me.
Our mutual flattery brought us closer. I asked her why she so easily called Alice Mom.
Just practice more. To be honest, since my parents divorced, my dad has had 6 girlfriends. Your mom is the 7th. None of them got married, but they all made me call them Mom.
I suddenly felt that Alice's future might not be as smooth as she thought. The next morning, Emily and I were playfully washing up together. Alice gave me a disapproving look.
Why are you so close to Emily?
Shouldn't I be?
I didn't understand. Don't all blended families hope for harmony among the children? Alice pinched me.
Ungrateful child, you get along with everyone except your own mother.
Seeing her controlling gaze, I shivered. Sure enough, when Emily and I got home from school, Alice started causing trouble. Before dinner, while Emily and I were doing homework in our room, Alice kept sending Emily on errands, first to buy vinegar, then to peel garlic. Emily's expression grew increasingly impatient. I offered to help, but Alice pushed me back into the room.
What can you do? Just getting in the way.
It didn't stop there. After dinner, Alice made Emily wash the dishes.
Emily, you're older than Lily. You should take on more chores, okay?
Emily agreed but started banging the dishes while washing them. Then she broke a plate. Alice immediately exclaimed and asked Michael if Emily was unhappy with her.
Michael, is Emily unhappy with me?
Emily! What's your problem? I provide for you, and you can't even wash dishes without throwing a fit.
Hearing the commotion, I came out and grabbed Emily's hand.
Oh no, you're bleeding. Stop washing, let me bandage it.
Go back to your studies. Stop pretending to care.
That night, we didn't speak a word. In the days that followed, Alice kept picking on Emily, and Michael did nothing. He was rarely home, and even when he was, he sided with Alice in scolding Emily. One day, I couldn't hold it in and asked Emily why she didn't fight back.
Why don't you fight back?
It's useless. Based on past experience, Alice won't last long before Michael dumps her. I just have to endure it.
I also thought their relationship wouldn't last. With Alice's temper, she couldn't tolerate Michael's constant absences. But strangely, Alice didn't argue much with Michael. I guessed it was because she vented all her frustration on Emily. Due to Alice's constant meddling, Emily and I grew more distant, barely speaking. Alice noticed and seemed pleased rather than upset. One day, I asked Alice why she treated Emily so poorly.
Why do you treat Emily so poorly?
Are you stupid? I'm the stepmother. What stepmother likes her stepdaughter?
When she said that, I misunderstood. I thought Alice still cared for me. So, I felt a small sense of happiness. Little did I know, her motherly love was all a facade. During the final exams, I miraculously ranked first in the grade, while Emily only ranked ninth. I knew Emily had been too tormented by Alice to focus on her studies. When the results came out, Alice made a feast and even rewarded me with a small cake. I found it odd since Alice had never cared about my grades before. Even when I was consistently second and praised by teachers, Alice would always say,
What's the use of a girl studying well? You'll get married eventually. As long as you can read and write, that's enough.
It was my first time ranking first, and I felt a bit proud. I quickly forgot Alice's dismissive attitude towards girls' education and happily ate the cake. As I ate, Alice told Emily,
Emily, there's no cake for you this time. From now on, whoever has better grades will get a reward. This is the reward system your dad and I came up with.
Emily just nodded and continued eating. I felt a bit smug but suddenly experienced a sharp pain in my mouth. There was a large thumbtack in the cake. As I chewed, the entire tack embedded in my gum, leaving only the head visible. Alice pried my mouth open and struggled to remove the tack. Blood gushed out, filling my mouth with a metallic taste. Emily was terrified, repeatedly asking if I needed to go to the hospital.
Do you need to go to the hospital?
No, I'll be fine.
I shook my head, rinsed my mouth, and found another tack in the remaining cake. Emily insisted on going to the bakery to complain, but Alice held her back.
Emily, how could the bakery put tacks in the cake? You were fiddling with the cake after school. Did you put the tacks in?
Mom, it wasn't me.
Alice started crying and clung to Michael.
It's all your fault for coming up with this reward system. Now Emily hates Lily. Look at what she's done. How cruel.
Michael, eyes red with anger, demanded to know if Emily had done it.
Did you do this, Emily?
Emily stared at her dad for a moment, then suddenly screamed.
I said it wasn't me. Do you believe me? Fine, it was me. Alice makes me do chores all the time, so I don't have time to study. That's why Lily ranked first, and I ranked ninth. You only bought one cake with her name on it. I wanted her to choke on it. Satisfied?
Michael, furious, kicked Emily. My heart sank. I felt both hatred and sympathy for Emily. I hated her for hurting me, but pitied her for being as unloved as I was. I remembered a saying, with a stepmother comes a stepfather. Her dad's attitude must have broken her heart. The tension in the room was palpable as Michael glared at his daughter.
Emily, don't be rude. This is your new mom. Say hello.
Michael, you managed to find yourself a wife while in the hospital. Impressive.
I'm your father. Hurry up and greet her.
Emily reluctantly called her mom and then looked at Lily. Alice grabbed Lily's hand.
Emily, this is your sister Lily. She's 2 months younger than you.
Emily stopped glaring at her father and turned her icy stare towards Lily. They were in the same grade, in neighboring classes. Emily was the top student, and Lily was the second. The man glared at the girl.
Emily, don't be rude. This is your new mom. Say hello.
Michael, you managed to find yourself a wife while in the hospital. Impressive.
I'm your father. Hurry up and greet her.
Emily reluctantly called her mom and then looked at me.
Emily, this is your sister Lily. She's 2 months younger than you.
Emily stopped protecting me and glared at me. Indeed, what a coincidence. We were in the same grade, in neighboring classes. She was the top student, and I was the second. The man glared at the girl.
Emily, don't be rude. This is your new mom. Say hello.
Michael, you managed to find yourself a wife while in the hospital. Impressive.
Michael raised his fist.
I'm your father. Hurry up and greet her.
Emily reluctantly called her mom and then looked at me. Alice grabbed my hand.
Emily, this is your sister Lily. She's 2 months younger than you.
Emily stopped pretending to protect me and glared at me. Indeed, what a coincidence. We were in the same grade, in neighboring classes. She was the top student, and I was the second. I started working at a karaoke bar as a hostess.
You can sell drinks even dressed, so conservatively. You've got skills.
She was right. I was good at selling drinks. So, I made about 10 to 20,000 yuan every month. I secretly saved this money, giving Alice only 3,000 yuan each month. That made Alice so happy she could jump for joy. After 3 months, I got familiar with the girls at the karaoke bar and started inviting them over to play mahjong at my place. Every time we went, we would give Alice 50 yuan as a table fee. At first, Alice was quite pleased, but over time, she couldn't stand it anymore.
Your mahjong games are too loud, disturbing Tom's sleep. Find another place to play.
But even if I agreed, my stepfather wouldn't. Because now, he was one of my mahjong buddies. My stepfather had always been a gambler. In the past, when he didn't come home at night, 9 times out of 10, he was at the mahjong table. The other 1 or 2 times, he was with women he met at the mahjong table. With my stepfather's support, Alice endured it. One day, while Alice was cooking for us in the kitchen, Tom fell off the bed and bumped his head.
Get out of here! 50 yuan a day, and I serve you food and drinks every day. I do all the housework inside and out, and none of you lift a finger. I don't want your 50 yuan anymore. Get out and play somewhere else.
My stepfather looked at the big bump on my brother's head and felt a bit ashamed. I didn't insist either. Because a couple of days ago, when I was picking up mahjong tiles from under the table, I saw my stepfather's left hand on Jessica's leg, squeezing it. My goal was achieved, the mahjong games could end. Though we stopped playing mahjong, Jessica and I grew closer.
I want to save money quickly and go back home to find a good man to marry before I turn 30.
I shrugged.
Didn't expect you to be a romantic. To be honest, my biological dad was a romantic too. He must have loved my mom a lot. When they divorced, he gave all his savings to her. Later, when my biological dad passed away, my mom fought with my grandma and took me back. She took all the compensation money, leaving only the small house to my grandma.
So, your biological mom is quite wealthy?
She probably has a few $100,000, but it has nothing to do with me. She's as stingy as they come. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to drop out of school and do this.
Does your stepfather know your mom has money?
Probably not. If he knew, he would have gambled it all away.
Half a month later, my stepfather asked why he couldn't get in touch with Jessica.
Why can't I reach Jessica? Have you seen her?
I don't know either. She seems really busy lately. She only comes by in the evenings and doesn't hang out with me anymore.
That night, I saw my stepfather at the karaoke bar. He was wearing new clothes and had brought 2 friends to sing, specifically requesting Jessica to accompany them. I served them a table of drinks.
This one's on me tonight.
Michael felt quite proud. During a break, I sat with them for a while. I overheard Jessica talking to my dad about cryptocurrency.
Is it really profitable?
Of course. If you weren't Lily's stepfather, I wouldn't even tell you about this opportunity.
I listened for a bit, got bored, and stepped out to get some fresh air. A group of high school students, both boys and girls, walked by, chattering. They glanced at me as they passed the karaoke bar and headed to a nearby skewer stall. Emily was among them, but she didn't recognize me. They ordered some skewers and chatted while waiting. I adjusted my hair and walked up to Emily. A few of them noticed me first and took a few steps back in fear. A girl tugged on Emily's sleeve.
Lily?
She glanced at the karaoke bar's sign behind me and pursed her lips, saying nothing.
Emily, long time no see.
The others started whispering.
Is she really Lily, the one who got expelled from our school?
Hey, I wasn't expelled. I just didn't want to study anymore.
Don't scare them.
Their skewers were ready. Emily took them from the vendor and handed them to her classmates, leaving 2 behind. She gave me one. We ate in silence.
Lily, it really wasn't me who did that with the photos.
I know.
You know? Then why did you still?
Emily, isn't it better to live away from home? Do you have time to study there? Can you get into a good university?
Emily stared at me, tears suddenly streaming down her face.
Lily, were you helping me on purpose? But you didn't have to ruin yourself.
I threw the skewer stick into the trash.
I'm not foolish enough to sacrifice my reputation for your education. Someone else was behind the photos. I found out who it was and just used the opportunity to get you out.
Did you find the guy who did it?
Sort of.
I took a wad of cash from my pocket and handed it to her.
There are only a few months left until the college entrance exams. Eat well and take care of yourself. Don't worry, I'm not doing anything bad. Just selling drinks.
I waved goodbye and walked back. I heard her classmates asking how she knew me. She hesitated for a moment and then said,
I'm her sister.
My long dormant tear ducts suddenly sprang to life again. The man glared at the girl.
Emily, don't be rude. This is your new mom. Say hello.
Emily smirked sarcastically.
Michael, you managed to find yourself a wife while in the hospital. Impressive.
Michael raised his fist.
I'm your father. Hurry up and greet her.
Emily reluctantly called her mom and then looked at me. Alice grabbed my hand.
Emily, this is your sister Lily. She's 2 months younger than you.
Emily stopped protecting me and glared at me. Indeed, what a coincidence. We were in the same grade, in neighboring classes. She was the top student, and I was the second. July came quickly, and it was time for the college entrance exams. During those days, neither Michael nor Alice seemed aware that the exams had started. They were too busy staring at their phones, buying and selling stocks. After the exams, Emily had nowhere to stay and had to move back home. Lily was out during the day and night, so they didn't have much chance to talk. On the night Emily received her acceptance letter, Lily took a leave from work and treated her to a seafood dinner.
Lily, I got into a very good university in Shanghai. Why don't you come to Shanghai with me? You have the basics down, you could enroll in a prep course and take the adult college entrance exams later.
I've forgotten most of what I learned. This is my life now. My dad's gone, and I didn't get a good mom. This is just my fate.
One shouldn't just accept their fate. You go to Shanghai first. I have things to take care of here. Once everything is settled, I'll come find you.
Lily handed her a card.
This is the money I've saved. It should be enough for your studies.
They both knew that neither Alice nor Michael would pay for her tuition. Emily thanked Lily, saying she'd consider it a loan and repay her once she started working. Lily didn't argue further. In September, Emily started school. It was also time for Lily to wrap things up. She made a call to find out how much Alice had invested. The number was staggering. Alice had put everything into it.
All right, it's game over.
Lily quit her job at the bar, grabbed some duck dishes, and headed home, planning to have a drink with her stepdad. As soon as she walked in, she saw them both pacing around the house, looking anxious and glued to their phones.
Where's Jessica?
Jessica was the woman he was involved with. Lily looked at him.
You two are together day and night, and you're asking me where Jessica is?
Michael, you scoundrel! I knew something was off between you and Jessica. Turns out you two were having an affair. Now what? Your mistress has taken all our money.
Alice tried to scratch her stepdad, but he pushed her onto the sofa.
Get lost. Who said she's a scammer? She was introduced to the website by someone else. Besides, doesn't the site say it's under maintenance? It might be back up tomorrow.
Alice hugged John and cried.
At a time like this, you're still defending that woman.
After crying for a while, she suddenly threw John onto the sofa and rushed over to pull Lily's hair, hitting her.
It's all your fault. If you hadn't introduced your dad to Jessica, our family wouldn't be in this mess.
Lily was no longer the person she used to be. She kicked Alice away and stood with her hands on her hips.
I introduced my dad to Jessica for playing mahjong, not for anything else. And I didn't tell him to do business with her. If you lost money, how is that my fault?
Her stepdad looked embarrassed. Lily called Jessica, and she was crying hysterically. She said the website had crashed, and she couldn't reach the person who introduced her to it.
Looks like she got scammed too.
Michael lit a cigarette.
How much did you invest?
There's about 20,000 left in the account, but it was all money we had earned. The initial investment was just over 1,000.
Lily clapped her hands and poured him a drink, trying to calm them down.
All right, don't worry about it. Just think of it as losing $1,000. It's not a big deal. If you want, I can slowly pay you back.
Michael nodded, feeling a bit better. But Alice was still crying non-stop. Lily chuckled inwardly. She was suffering in silence. The man glared at the girl.
Emily, don't be rude. This is your new mom. Say hello.
Michael, you managed to find yourself a wife while in the hospital. Impressive.
Michael raised his fist.
I'm your father. Hurry up and greet her.
Emily reluctantly called her mom and then looked at me. Alice grabbed my hand.
Emily, this is your sister Lily. She's 2 months younger than you.
Emily stopped protecting me and glared at me. Indeed, what a coincidence. We were in the same grade, in neighboring classes. She was the top student, and I was the second. Alice had compromised. She asked us to rent her an apartment and give her a monthly allowance of $3,000. Emily and I agreed without hesitation.
Let's get her a place in the city center.
I think that's a good idea. It keeps her out of our hair.
I rented her a place in the city center, and Alice happily signed a 1-year lease. After paying 2 months' rent, I blocked her number. Then, Emily and I called our stepfather.
We need to tell him what Alice and Tom are up to.
Let's imply they have plenty of money.
We told him we saw Alice and Tom living in a luxury apartment in Shanghai. Michael, desperate for funds, rushed to Shanghai with Jessica to visit Alice and Tom. One can only imagine the chaos that ensued. It was likely a complete mess. I moved to a new city and started a new job, not far from Shanghai. I saw my boyfriend once a week, and our relationship was stable.
Alice visited my school twice, but I called Dad to complain.
You did the right thing. Without a diploma, you can't find a job, let alone support Michael.
Michael was furious and reportedly confronted Alice several times. After that, Alice finally behaved herself. From a young age, I knew that mothers are the most remarkable women, and maternal love is the most selfless emotion. But I was unlucky, I didn't have a good mother.
However, meeting Emily allowed me to love this world. And meeting my boyfriend allowed me to love my daughter.
I will be a good mother. I swear.